y'all. Welcome to Let's Talk About It with Xavier Fox. We are here on this wonderful Saturday morning, afternoon, something we hear. We have our mimosas, so we don't remember what day or time it is. But we're about to have a great discussion. I love a great conversation, and I've had a bunch of them over the past many years, and we're about to have another one. Got my friend in the house with me. Hey, and
Absolutely. Happy Saturday, everybody. We are in the building for Let's Talk About It with Xavier Fox and myself and Yatu Marvel, a.k.a. Mr. Hitch. And we are drinking infused mimosas this particular Saturday.
Oh, you really going to tell all our business?
Yeah, I'm going to tell all of our business. These are not regular mimosas. These are infused.
Clearly, because he's talking a lot.
Mimosas. And yeah, it's cracking me up because I'm going to tell everything, right?
Uh-oh.
We are drinking Martini and Rossi, Asti Spumante. And I remember in the 80s that being a bragging thing in rap lyrics for Eric Sermon, God bless EPMD.
But listen, they said the lady at the thing said that that's the best to make mimosas with because it's slightly sweet.
So here's the thing. A lot of people think that the most expensive champagnes are the best. I'm not going to diss expensive champagnes. I was about to give some expensive champagnes, some of them that I've tasted, the thumbs down, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to try to impact anybody's brand adversely. But today, we're going to talk about a men's first date list that went viral. And so ironically, my brother Khalid is who I first saw post this list, and then as I went around to my relationship groups that I belong to, I saw that it was viral, that everybody was posting it. So much so that the world we live in right now, I don't even know who to credit this list to because I've seen it credited to 7 different men who I guess either added their pictures and then put white over and then put their name like as if it was their post.
Wow.
So I won't try to name whose post it actually was, but I did get it from my brother Khalid. But before we get into this, because it's a first date list, right?
It is a first date list.
What is a date?
What is
dating? I like to get things clear so there's an understanding for what we're talking about. And so I pulled it up. When you pull up the definition of date, it gives all these definitions of the other versions of dating, doesn't really dabble into romantic dating. And so I'm going to go with the Wikipedia definition. Everybody okay with that, I hope. But it says,
I might chime in. I disagree.
Dating is a stage of romantic interaction in which 2 individuals engage in activity together, most often with the intention of evaluating each other's suitability as a partner in future romantic relationships.
I do agree with that.
I agree with that too.
I agree.
Right? Very important. Evaluating each other. Spending time together to be able to evaluate each other. And so this list, it starts with, I took a few minutes to make a list of what's really important in all caps. You put really important in all caps on the first date if you really want to impress her. So in the gate, what I get from that is performative, right? That you made a list of things somebody should do that you say is really important to impress the person. But he did stress impress the woman, so that gives context.
It has to be performative, though.
God bless. That gives context.
Actions speak louder than words. So
that gives context for the list.
I'm just supposed to have telepathy and be like, oh, he's a great guy. No, you got to show me that you're a great guy. That requires action.
Well, I don't disagree, but performative actions don't necessarily tell you who a guy is, right?
It does, because what's on the inside comes out.
No, I could read this list.
Go ahead, read the list.
No, not for the show, right? But I'm just saying for conversation's sake, I'm a terrible guy. I see this list went viral, and now I do all the things on this list on the first date with you. You think my actions spoke louder than my words.
So tell me something on there that someone would just fake for a first date. Because if it's not in you, a lot of men, when I read that list, because I read the list too, when I read the list, I started to think about all the men that were sitting there talking about, oh, that's for simps. Oh, I ain't doing that. She can open her own door. Ain't nothing wrong with her hands.
So Khalid has a different type of audience. He got like 127 comments on this post, and I don't think I saw one man go against it. I think I saw
Because
some
it's so
guys
basic.
mention one or two of them saying don't do that or whatever.
It's so basic.
But for the most part, everybody endorsed it. As you can see, Xavier saying that it's basic.
So basic.
I want to talk
super
about
basic.
it because I don't know if it accomplishes what the goal of dating is supposed to be. But let's dig into it one item at a time on the list.
All right, here we go.
So the first thing is be there early so you don't leave her waiting.
Absolutely.
Xavier is a woman.
Absolutely.
So let's chime in on whether or not being early to the date is going to impress Xavier.
If he's, because I am punctual. I am Miss Punctuality. Everybody knows.
The
that
truth is
I
about to
am
come out. Are you sure
Miss
now? I've been drinking
Punctual-
infused mimosa now.
Miss
About to tell on you.
Punctuality. Yeah, well, we had some glitches today, and I was trying to get food, so we ain't gonna judge today. But I am Miss Punctuality. Listen, our social media person up here works with me all the time. Who's more punctual than me?
Nobody.
Nobody. I am always on time. So I would definitely prefer that someone be early than be late because, okay, here's my secret. Once he is 15 minutes late, I start to get undressed.
Mm.
And if he's late enough for me to take off my clothes and put my jammies or whatever else I had on, I'm not going.
What if he texts and says he's running late?
As long as he texts me before the 15
The time that he's
minutes
supposed to be there.
part.
For sure.
Right.
Okay, so I certainly don't disagree with being on time. For men who will be frustrated if the woman is late because every woman is not always punctual, that's an easy conversation to have. You know, you just check in with her like, hey, are you usually, always ready right at 8 o'clock if somebody tells you they're going to pick you up at 8 o'clock?
15 minutes early.
Because some women, I won't say most, but certainly a significant enough of men and women run late. And I'm not judging anybody because I'm probably almost always running late because I try to do too much. But I am going to tell my friend Xavier, she told me to be here at 11:45 today. What time we get started?
Well, pardon me, that's my fault.
12:45 is what time it is. So I think we've been going for about 5 or 10 minutes. And so if you are the type of guy who is going to be frustrated if you're waiting, I'm not suggesting you leave her waiting, but you definitely want to communicate about that. But that's not a bad tip
The
at all.
one time I'm late, somebody puts it on a lie.
Yeah, I'm talking a little smack now.
No more THC for him.
We gotta have a little fun. If you were late all the time, I wouldn't tell them. But because this is your one time on your perfect record, I'm gonna go and throw it out there. But things happen. I want people to understand. Sometimes things happen. Even a person who's on time all the time sometimes can be late. So I agree with the guy being on time, maybe even being a little early. And certainly if you bump into some bad traffic or something happens at the house and you have to do a wardrobe change and you're running late, communicate that before the time that you're supposed to pick her up.
Oh, I see we got a comment coming up. Somebody asked, does he get another date?
Does he
if he's
get
late?
another date if he's late?
He better be fine.
He better be fine.
What's the first date? I don't know what else he got going on.
Back in like 2000 or 2001, I was dating this lady, and I swear to God, whatever time I said I was going to be there, she would be like just getting in the bathtub.
I hate when people do
Right?
that.
Well, I figured it out after the first time, which is so ironic, right? We respond to different people different ways. Other people, I would have left them alone, but for whatever reason, I just adjusted. So I would tell her I was there downstairs when I was getting in the shower at home, and then we would both be ready an hour later, and I would actually be there and work out. So she only got me one time, but that first time I was sitting down there waiting. I was like, what is really going on? So anyway, being on time, whether it's work or whatever it is, leaves a good impression, I believe. So I roll with that. Number 2 is grab her some flowers and a small card, letting her know you appreciate her time. Xavier?
Well, that's nice. You know, everybody doesn't necessarily like flowers. I mean, a plant. I mean, you can bring a little token gift if you want. The first date, I'm not necessarily looking for you to really go all out because especially if we met online. Because if we met online, to me, the first date should be something like a breakfast and we're going to meet there, something that should be quick. so that we can see if you really do look like your pictures. You really, present a positive energy and all that kind of stuff. I'm really checking for that kind of stuff to see if I ever want to see you again. A lot of us only have first dates because people don't show up the way you anticipate them showing. So you don't need to bring me anything on the first date. Now, if you get a second date and you want to bring me some tulips or, some of those calla lilies, I love those things. That would be nice, but you wouldn't really know to bring me tulips or calla lilies because you don't know what I like yet. We probably ain't talking about that.
Possibly. So
you don't have to bring me no card.
I'll be perfectly honest.
Trash.
It's highly unlikely that I'm going to show up to a first date with flowers and a card saying that I appreciate your time. Mainly because of the definition of dating, that I'm dating you to assess suitability. So 99 times out of 100, if I ask you out on a date and I'm taking you out on a date, it's because we've had 2 or 3 stimulating conversations that I felt were meaningful and impressive enough for me to want to take you out on a date. But because I've been out on enough dates to know that that does not guarantee that it's going to be the same way when you meet that person in person, because I have went on some first dates and I had to go to the bathroom and talk myself out of just like climbing out of the window or trying to sneak out of the back door
and I've gone on
leaving them there.
And I left. I didn't even try and talk myself out of it.
God bless. And probably a woman should, but as a gentleman, I just didn't want to leave a woman at a place, but I kind of really did want to leave a person at a place. So if I have a really, really great first date with a woman, then perhaps I will bring flowers the second date because then I know I enjoyed it, and I will maybe do that card thing. I appreciate your time, because now I actually know that I did appreciate your time. And so I'm not knocking any guy who does want to bring flowers and bring that card. It just depends on where you are. That might just be the nature of who you are. But I don't want to give people the wrong impression, if that makes sense. That if I'm really interested in a woman and want to take it further, I want her to know that. But if I'm not sure, then I don't want to give her mixed signals, because again, my goal in dating is to assess for suitability, create an environment where it allows for this woman to get to know me better, and hopefully for me to get to know her better to assess things. And so I don't want
everybody don't get the same stuff. So the more special you are, the more stuff you get. If I run into 3 other women that you dated and you did the exact same thing for all of us, I'm like, oh,
that was going to be my next question. If you found out that this is what he does for everybody, first date,
right? Yeah.
You know,
he got an account at the floor, so
you don't even know if he appreciates your time. So again, if the goal is to impress her, sometimes it's just because you want to impress her, which I want to impress my date with who I am, though, more so than performative things. But I'm not going to judge that. Who
you are comes out in actions, though.
Sort of. Yeah. Sort of. I mean, if that was the case, every woman who assessed a guy and ended up either dating him, getting in a relationship with him, or sleeping with him would have made the right decision. But it doesn't always.
It comes out, but we ignore some of the stuff.
Okay,
when you listen to when he's telling you, "Oh, I've been in and out of jail all my life," and you're like, "Oh, well, he probably done changed now." No.
Please tell me no one has told you that.
Somebody in out of jail there. But and on top of that, people change. So just because he told me that he wants to do this, that, and the other, and 3 years from now he may change and be someone else.
Right.
Because we definitely all evolve over time.
I think the best fakers can fake it for a year. I think it's hard to consistently fake it in every conversation and every interaction for longer than a year, if there's some consistency. If you've only got together 2 or 3, I said the best fakers now. I'm not talking about a rookie, an amateur faker. I'm talking about professional manipulators.
Oh, those ones that show up on those shows called scammers. The men that get the women to give them all their money and stuff.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, there's a term that circulated in the entertainment industry, and they call certain men snipers or assassins. Damn. And what they mean by that is lady killers, meaning that 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, they can sleep with almost whoever they want to. And whether they're announcing or not that they have slept with the majority of women that they want to. And that doesn't come with every celebrity. That doesn't come with every man who has money. There's a certain level of understanding a man has to have to be able to be an assassin.
Snipers and assassins.
Snipers and assassins.
They're trying to kill us.
Lady killers, right? And so we got a nice long list, 21 to go through. So I'm gonna speed it up a little bit.
Okay.
Number 3 is
Is
open doors for her. No discussion. Solid advice. Open the door for her to get in. Open the door for her to get out. Open the door. It's funny though. I sometimes find women racing me to doors, which just tickles me. But they always apologize. I'm not used to, and that's okay. You know.
So when you're a woman and you become accustomed to the man that's around you or the men that's around you opening doors, it's so funny because you will find yourself walking up to doors and then looking back to see who's about to open it for you. I've been with some of my female friends who also have men that open doors, and we both just be standing there at the door.
Right. I like that. I like that.
We used to men opening doors for us.
I like that. Number 4, compliment her. In parentheses, he said, "Wow, you look beautiful." I'm a man who can't hold back a well-deserved compliment. It may make me flirtatious or whatever the case may be, but if I like your hair, I'm going to tell you. If I like your shoe purse game, I'm going to tell you. If you look gorgeous, I'm going to tell you you look gorgeous, whether you're my date or not. And so, yeah, definitely if you like something, as a man on a date with a woman, I definitely think that you should be vocal, no question.
But don't go overboard because then it seems like you are being phony.
So,
Don't tell a woman 12 times in an hour that she's beautiful. You say it once, maybe twice. And then after that, it becomes, like, okay, is he only here because he thinks I'm beautiful? There's a whole lot more to me than just this right here.
God bless. Yeah, I would hope a man wouldn't keep saying that over and over again. And as I started my conversation with it, if it's a well-deserved compliment, I can't help but giving it. But yeah, I don't want to lie to you. And I don't want to tell you, something that's just not true, because you're going to figure it out later, right? My behavior is not going to line up with all these fake compliments that I'm giving you. 5, it says, settle her in with a hug. And in parentheses, a hug can determine a lot. Men, you better be really good at reading the room before you touch on a woman.
That's true, too.
That could be very problematic. And because it's the first date that may have not been established, I can't recall a time where I've ever read that wrong, but I'm sure that men do it all the time. And so, yeah, a lot of women won't want a man to get touchy-feely right at the beginning of a first date.
And make sure you didn't just leave the gym.
Well, see, that's next, right? Number 6 is smell good.
Okay, yeah, those go together.
And she'll be thinking about you even when she gets home. This might be the most solid advice on this list.
Your cologne is still on us, so we can smell you,
I am all about the smell good. I'm going to smell good. My plate's going to smell good. My car going to smell good. I'm into the 5 senses and appeasing them, not only for the woman, but also for myself. So I believe in that one wholeheartedly. There's no situation where you should show up not smelling good. There is no exception to that rule.
I was wondering if I could maybe get another
One of these party favor
My throat is a
mimosa.
little dry.
It's a little parched.
Yeah,
To hydrate.
I need to hydrate. Okay, what's
So while we're
next?
doing it, what's next is number 7 is be attentive, stay off your phone. I agree with that totally.
Cranberry and orange.
I agree with that totally. My son is 21 now, so it's not a big deal. But at the time, he was a teenager. If I needed to check my phone because I want to check in with him or because he texted me, then I'll say that. Say, hey, sorry about touching my phone. My son was going to this thing. I need to check that really quickly or whatever the case may be.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm pretty busy. And so when I go on a date, I do have my phone out. I have it face down next to me.
Okay.
And I've had a couple guys say, oh, you wanted them to keep your phone face down. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Is that really like a thing?
It could be a thing.
I've heard women say that, that men keep their phone face down because they don't want you to see who calling or whatever. But, that does not have to be why, though. It could be business. In my case, it's usually business.
It might be a thing for some men. I don't subscribe to that. I'm not about to be looking at the screen no way. So
Man.
whether it's face up, in my opinion, it's face down because I'm not trying to learn about you by staring into your.
So make sure you're secure.
Yeah,
Don't be
make
worried
sure you're
about how her
secure.
phone
And
is.
you know, I wish what he had put on this list as number one was if it's the first date, give the situation a blank canvas, right? And that's for men and women, right? Don't bring past experiences and past issues and past preconceived notions into the date, or else you really won't get to know the person. You'll project what you think you already know onto that person. But that's probably another topic for another show. Number 8, lead the date. That's a generalization, but I get it. I understand that I like doing really cool things, and I do like impressing women. And so, if you find different ways to lead the date, certainly.
Let's because when I read that,
Make that
you said lead the day. So what exactly does that mean to you as a man reading that? What does that tell you?
Well, it just resonated with me because when I go, okay, if we're going to a restaurant, I'm going to request the best table in the house. I am going to know something about the restaurant. I am going to know something about the menu. I'm going to have some positive conversation and maybe even some great suggestions that lead the energy and the culture of the date. Right.
Okay.
So if you're opening doors, you're leading, you pulling the chair back, you're saying, hey, that they got a martini menu. This sounds cool. You know, what's your favorite flavor? Is there a particular cocktail you like? But you're leading the date. You're not just leaving everything to chance, right? Because if you don't ask for the best table, you might end up at a table right next to the kitchen door or the bathroom, or right next to the front door. And you know, these Chicago winters, every time somebody comes in, now you got the hawk breathing down her neck. She got on this sexy black dress, but she's freezing.
Yes, that's horrible.
And so again, you'd be amazed that if you speak up, what you can get for yourself. I've been on dates in Chicago and Vegas and other places where I did not have a reservation because it was spontaneous, and I talked the hostesses into bumping me up to the front of the line. And certainly those ladies were super impressed by my ability to skip the 35-minute wait and have us sitting at a table in 5 or 10 minutes. In fact, at Bavette's in Chicago, they have a little waiting area right in the front, and they cleared that waiting area for me and made that into the table and let us full service order from the menu. We were sitting on couches. Just because I asked, right? This lady's with me. She's from California. She's not from Chicago. I told her Bavette's was at that time the #1 steakhouse in Chicago, and I wanted them to help me impress her, and they took the initiative to go ahead and make that happen. So that's just one example of how you potentially.
You must be a really great tipper.
I love to tip great. People start at a really high tip and then sometimes, unfortunately, work their way down. But in the gate, my intention is to be a really great tipper because you get better treatment when you're a great tipper and they remember you, right? So I love that when I go back and they, that special treatment definitely works out on dates. Women love it when they get special treatment and they can see that you are the cause of that. So leading the date, I agree with that for sure. 9, make sure to smile and keep eye contact. I believe in that too. Don't be on a date grumpy smurf.
Somebody said something about hiding something. That must have been to the phone face
phone
down.
being down.
I ain't hiding nothing.
If something comes through to a person who's saying that, if something comes through the phone, what are you going to do?
Right.
You're gonna.
It's a first date. You don't have a clue who is what.
Are you gonna stare at the phone? Are you gonna try to gaze into their phone and read into whatever text message or
trying
phone
to see
call
what pictures
or
pop up or whatever? So
It's,
you can say, who is he? And it's like somebody you don't know. Clearly.
Yeah, ask what you want to know. So yeah, I don't know about that.
That's crazy to me.
That trying to hide it. I don't feel privy to what's inside of any person's phone. So.
And you know what's funny is men think that women don't go through the same things that they go through on the other side. Men talk as if women are the only ones that's jealous and suspicious and want to check up on you and stuff. And there are absolutely men who are jealous and suspicious and want to check up on you all the time.
What? Absolutely. That is not gender specific.
It is not.
Jealous men and they are jealous women.
Man.
So yeah, eye contact is very important. It helps you one, to read the room. Also, it's an indication of engagement and telling the truth. And yeah, happy people who want to create a happy time should smile. That's one of the cheapest ways to look good, right? Doesn't cost anything. A smile, which you're wearing, more important than the clothes and everything else in some cases. Number 10 is make her laugh, because a sense of humor is everything. If there's an opportunity, if something comes about naturally, but I don't have any preconceived jokes and or witty statements that I'm going to bring to a date. I like for things to be organic. I like, for the most part, not to pre-decide anything. I'm sure I like this woman enough to want to know more about this woman to see if I really like this woman on a first date. I'm not sure about anything. I don't care how good she looks. I'm not sure if I want to sleep with her. I don't care how successful she is. I'm not sure if I want to partner with her. None of these things. I understand that I'm trying to find out these things when I come on a date, and so I act accordingly.
So make her laugh, to me, it's like keep it light.
Okay.
Stay positive. Go with the flow. If something is funny, make it funny. Versus being just real stoic and judgmental, and you go on some dates and you feel like you're on an interview.
Right.
That's not fun.
I've gotten that sometimes. Well, not on the dates, but maybe on the telephone. I've heard that it's like an interview, but I don't ask what your favorite color is. I do ask real questions, but I am a very light-hearted person. I love to laugh, and usually if I'm out in the world, I find something funny to talk about everything. But it seems like if I tell a man, say something funny to make her laugh, that's performative. That you're pre-deciding that you're going to try to make her laugh as a way to impress her, and that just doesn't come off as genuine or authentic.
We don't want you to have like a script, we don't want you to be Chris Rock or D.L. Hughley,
Yeah, but no, if something funny happens on the ride or something funny happens in a restaurant, I love to laugh. Even in myself, I'll crack jokes on myself. So you're likely to laugh, certainly if you hang out with me in any situation, friend, date, whatever it is, but I just don't believe in forcing.
If you go on a date and you think back and it's like, man, I laughed so hard, my stomach hurt, my face hurt, we was crying.
Oh man, all the time.
Those are great dates. You want to go on another one of those.
Absolutely.
Versus the interview, I don't want to see you again if you just go and interview me.
Here's another super solid one. Always walk on the outside of the street. So, that is a form of protection, is a level of understanding, and I think every man, no matter what, not only first date, but every date and every time you're going anywhere, this is the same way you should behave. Same thing with opening doors. This is the one thing that should be uniform, no matter who you're going out with, or no matter where you're going or what you got going. Stand on the outside if it's your mama, your niece, your sister, your first date, 100th date, your wife. Never stop doing that.
And that's a character thing. So like I said, a lot of times, even though you say it's performative, what's on the inside of you, what your character is, it comes out in your actions, which is why they say actions speak louder than words.
Well, I think that's maybe why this list is going viral, is because unfortunately, some people just don't know. So while some of it has to do with your character, especially if you've heard about it, you've been introduced to the concept of walking on the outside before and you understand why. But if no one tells you anything, you'll be still thinking the same thing when you're 50 that you thought when you were 11, if you haven't learned anything new. Wow. And so unfortunately, depending on who raised the person, what the circumstances were, they may have never, ever been introduced to that concept. So I don't want to uniformly tie it to a person's character. Maybe they don't know.
That is part of the problem now, though, because I feel like a lot of that wasn't passed down.
Right.
I think with we had that big explosion of divorce for a while. Like over 50% of people were getting divorced, and I think that a lot of fathers, and then a lot of fathers are absent now as well. So with so many single parent homes, I think those things just aren't passed down to the younger generation. So they may not know, but that's sad.
I grew up in a neighborhood where there was very little turnover. Most of us lived there for like 15, 20 years. There were maybe 3 or 4 households out of 50 where the dad was present, mine being one of them, right? And so my dad was teaching some of my friends how to drive and all types of things that they didn't have somebody to do for them. And so I try to be very appreciative of the fact that I had both my parents in my life, and also be empathetic and understanding of how people can not know certain things and not have certain guidance because it just wasn't there for them. And so give somebody some grace, bring it to their attention. And if they say, oh, and they let you know that they know about it, but they're just not doing it, then it's character, right? But if they say, oh man, I'm such and such years old and I never knew that, or I never heard that there's this assumption that, because you're a certain age, there are certain things that you should just know. But believe it or not, many people are just not exposed to the mentorship and the guidance when it comes to these types of things.
And that's sad.
That is sad and unfortunate. Number 12 is ask her how she's feeling and if she needs anything. I definitely believe in check-ins. So definitely that is a great thing to do. You may be introduced to another way that you can potentially impress her if she tells you about something that she may need or want that you are able to make happen. And it might be something very small and very simple. But I do laugh at this one because on Khalid's post, the first person to jump in and say something against the list was a woman, and she said, don't do number 12. And it was a woman.
Don't do number 12.
She said, if you say that, the woman might order a Wagyu steak and lobster combination or something, she said, that I didn't agree with. But I thought it was interesting that it was a woman who disagreed with this.
That was interesting.
With this number.
To me, that's called being attentive. I like when a man is attentive. He's in tune with me. He wants to make sure I'm okay.
Absolutely.
And him wanting to is the whole thing right there.
Absolutely.
He gets points for wanting to.
Absolutely. So you see, we have a guest panelist on the show.
Yes.
I don't know the cat's name, but the cat has been loving me since last time. And as soon as I got here, this cat, I don't know if the cat's smelling my Louis Vuitton cologne or what, but the cat has decided to be involved.
All right, so let's talk about it with Xavier Fox and the cat.
And the number 13, keep the conversation interesting. I do believe in stimulating conversation. I do like to have interesting conversation. I don't know that that's one person's responsibility, but certainly do your part to keep the conversation interesting. But finding out what she's interested in is part of that as well. And so as from a woman's perspective, what do you think a guy can do that keeps the conversation interesting on the first date?
So back in the day, I was in a class, and what I learned from that class, I think it was one of my psychology classes.
Okay.
And they said that people like to talk about themselves.
For sure.
So ask her things. And so what I do when I'm on a date, I actually go all the way back because I do really want to know. So I ask them, so where'd you grow up? You got brothers and sisters?
Okay.
So you just get people talking about themselves. They love to talk. And they will, whatever you hit on that they really want to talk about, they will just start to pour it out. And then you just build on that. You just build on the conversation. Don't make it like an interview. Actually engage. So if they're talking about something that happened in second grade, if you had something that happened in second grade, you know what? So when I was there, so it builds on the conversation, and you both are engaged and relating, and that's creating the bond, and those are things that lead to another date.
What makes it feel like an interview? I know you said them being too stoic and too stiff and things of that nature, but what type of question comes off as an interview question?
So the question that I hate the most, which is actually a valid question to some degree, but the question I hate the most is, so you seem really busy. How are you going to make time to date me?
And
I don't know, because this is the first date. I'm not sure I want to date you. I haven't decided yet if I want to date you.
Okay.
It's, those kind of things, those things that they ask more about, or if they do start, how many relationships have you been in? Why are you single? Why did your last relationship end? Do you want to be married? How long have you been widowed? Why didn't you marry somebody else? What? So my oldest daughter jokes and calls me the runaway bride.
Okay.
And so if I share with them that I have been proposed to since my husband died, but I just did not marry them, why didn't you marry any of them? And the fact that I have not remarried and I was proposed to before, I think that is something that raises a concern for men.
Mm. I think this is a very nuanced part of the discussion, right? Because it's like you don't want the conversation to be super heavy on a first date, but I don't want to go out on a first date with a woman and not learn anything else about her except for what she ordered, what type of food she likes, and things that really don't affect whether or not a future connection will go well at all. And I think that especially at this age, people don't want to waste their time. Uh, they want to make the best of their time, and so they're asking legitimate questions to determine if they want to move forward. And so I don't think it's unreasonable to do that. But again, if it's back to back to back, all these serious questions, I can see why it would come off like an interview. But I have noticed that some women that I have experienced maybe are concerned about uh, letting a man get to know them really well. And so I think I maybe mentioned this on this show before. In the movie Nappily Ever After, her birthday was coming up, and her mother were convinced that this guy was going to propose to her after having dated her for a year, and he like bought her a dog, right? It was not an engagement ring. And when she let him know that she was upset about it, he said, "I don't even know you. Yes, we go out on dates every week, but it's the same first date over and over again, and I don't get to know anything more about you than how attentive you are to your hair and how attentive you are to your appearance." And so I haven't dealt with it that extreme, but I can remember dating a woman and looking up 6 months later and realizing that we kind of had been repeating the same conversations for 6 months. We might have been out on 15 dates during that period of time. And I noticed that it was like a rinse cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we start over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I didn't feel like I was really getting to know this woman better. I don't think that she was consciously locking me out past a certain point, but unconsciously, maybe she was afraid to really let someone get to know her. So I think there's a balance when it comes to making the conversation interesting and asking questions that are pertinent to you. If this is something you care about, I don't think it's unreasonable to wonder if you have some availability to date someone. I've dated somebody who they were working 2 jobs and they were so busy and they really didn't have the time. And it was taking so long to get a second and a third and a fourth date. It just didn't seem like it was the right time. I did not.
So if you have been on the first date already, mm-hmm. and you both have decided that you do want to see each other again, then I don't mind you asking me, okay, so you're really busy. Right. When can you fit me in? Because I'm also self-employed. So for the most part, I can kind of, do my schedule, right. Unless I actually have an event or unless I'm recording, which, nobody respects the recording space.
Right.
but, so sometimes I can, but don't ask me on the first date. Okay. While we're on the first date, how am I going to make time for you? Because that answer could be that I don't actually want to make time for you.
He should want to know that too, right?
He will know that.
God, he will know that. I'm totally not against that. Okay, let's move it right along. Number 14, stay in the moment. I absolutely believe that both people should stay present the entire day. Again, if you're somebody with children, you have something else going on, where you do have to check your phone or you do have to be distracted for a hot second, communicate about that, apologize for that. But definitely, I think staying present and in the moment is super duper important for both parties.
Absolutely. And if the date is boring, that's a difficult thing to swing. Yeah. That's a difficult thing. You start thinking about what I got to do tomorrow. Man, I need to go pick up some tea when I leave here.
I start thinking about how I can speed this up.
Man.
How can I speed this date up and get out of here and find something else to do with my night before it's over.
And then especially if they follow you being bored up with, boy, you're so beautiful. Like, good Lord.
Ladies, I don't mind. Compliment me as many times as you want to. I don't care if you tell me I'm handsome 50 times on a date. I will never get tired of the compliment.
Words of affirmation is last on my list. First on my list is actions. Yeah.
I can believe it. I can believe it. Number 15 is remember that an ex doesn't exist. once again, what I said should have maybe been the first thing on this list is giving the first date a blank canvas to paint on, to build on. And so definitely you don't want to come into a first date and bring your past on that first date with you. Because if you start talking about your ex, you literally have invited them on a date. It's not a one-on-one date anymore. It's a trouble.
Well, but I'm going to ask you, one of the things I am going to ask on the first date, if I'm actually interested, if he show up and he's not who I envisioned him to be, then I'm probably not going to ask. But I want to know, how long have you been single? Because if you just broke up with somebody last week, that's not done.
Well, you don't have to talk about your ex. That's your relationship status.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So you could just say what your relationship status is. That's perfectly okay. But any conversation about the dynamics between you and your ex, if she orders a drink and you're like, oh, my ex like that drink, you're blowing it, buddy.
Yeah.
You're making a huge.
At some point, though, you should be prepared to talk about past relationships to some degree, though.
We are talking about the first date.
We are talking about the first date.
Even in that, for
but
it
not
to be
on the first
productive conversation, even later on down the line, it should be more about what you learn from these past experiences than about the ex themselves and the relationship.
Exactly. Not about the ex. I don't really want to talk about her specifically.
I hope not.
Because oftentimes you run into men who will blame everything that went wrong on the woman, on the ex. And so that's a red flag as well, because they have no accountability for what they're doing.
I think lots of people do that. I see posts all the time where they're like, okay, tell us why you're single without blaming the opposite sex. And I've seen lots of people really struggle to be able to do that because they totally blame the other person. Yeah. So accountability is a green flag.
That's why we have so many unhealed people out
in
here.
Today's dating market.
Not acknowledging the crap that they're bringing. So you bring all those past things because you blaming everything on the other person. You have to accept it before you can heal it.
Absolutely. So number 16 is be honest. I agree. Tell the truth. I think whether a person knows it consciously or is this just an unconscious thing, everybody has a true desire, a genuine desire to be loved for exactly who they really are. But many people are afraid to expose who they really are to be able to even attract that type of love, admiration, and attraction from another person. But I believe that is your best bet. You don't have to keep up with what you said if you're being honest and being yourself. Right. You don't have to keep up a front if you're honest and being yourself. And you're likely to be the most comfortable, if you're comfortable with who you are, being honest. And I suspect that the reason why people lie is because they just aren't comfortable with who they are. Yeah. And so it's unfortunate. We live in a world that a lot of people want to keep up with the Joneses and things of that nature. And so they pay attention to the psychological warfare of keeping up with society and all the things that they should and shouldn't be. And so sometimes people will try to fall into these positions or fall into these roles or fall into these perceptions that they think that they're supposed to be. And I find that it just doesn't work, So if you're just trying to impress a woman, you don't really want to get to know her and make anything meaningful happen, I guess lying should be your thing. But if you want it to be real, you want it to be authentic, you want it to be genuine, then definitely be honest. Number 17, don't make the date all about you. I agree with that 100%. A lot of people do not understand the art of conversation. There should be some back and forth. There should definitely be some balance. You pointed out earlier that if you ask a person the right questions, they will begin to pour it out, talking about themselves. And so if a woman asks you that type of question and you pour it out, make sure you leave some room for her to add to the conversations or to start another conversation on that date. Oh, okay. You're communicating with me. But yeah, don't make it all about you. A date is a two-way street. Again, we defined it at the beginning. This is going out and interacting with each other for the purposes of assessing suitability for one another. Whether you're suitable to go out on a second date, whether you're suitable to pursue something further down the line. Number 18, know something about the menu to recommend, or at least talk about, right? So this is a way to get to know a person. So yeah, I definitely like to familiarize myself with menus. I like to know what the best thing is on the menu. I like to know what the restaurant is famous for. I engage the waitress. I don't just look at the menu and decide. I'll even if I think I know what I want, I still will see if the waitress can share something about one of the dishes on the menu that might make me change my mind because I'm looking to have the best experience possible. But definitely, you'd be doing yourself a favor if you know some things about the restaurant, you know some things about the menu, and you can be helpful to your date and having a great experience at that, whatever the date is.
We got some good activity going on over there on Instagram.
All right. People clapping and enjoying and following. All right. Number 19, make sure you handle the whole bill. Put whole bill in all caps. So I'm just be honest with you. I've never been on a date and split the bill, or never been on a date and let a woman pay for the tip or anything like that. If it's my date, it's my date, and that's that. I don't understand the co-paying for date.
But we generally, women, when we run into that, you just kind of know that maybe his finances might not be. Because even with women, if we, if we're going out, we all are going to be able to handle whatever we signed up for. If I ask you on a date, I don't have no problem paying for that date. So why a guy would ask you on a date and then want to go Dutch? You often just feel like
I don't think Xavier is the average. I think there are lots of women out here in today's world that are asking men on dates with the full expectation that he's going to be a gentleman at the end of that date. He's going to pay for it.
I have asked men on dates that refuse to let me pay, but I came completely prepared to pay.
God bless.
And I gave him a little pushback on it, like I asked you on the date.
That's still different.
And this one guy told me that was insulting to him. He said, if people see me reaching in my purse, that's disrespectful.
So I have definitely paid for some dates that women have invited me on. I think as an experiment, maybe 2 or 3 times, the woman who said she was going to pay for it, I let her pay for it to see what she was going to say and do. And I did get some pushback, but I kind of felt that energy, and I was willing to risk them not liking me to be able to go ahead, and test
so
it. But I don't like being invited on dates by women that I'm expected to pay. So I try to vet that type of situation. I've had women invite me out on what was supposed to be breakfast, lunches and dinners, and it turned into a date, and I didn't know that it was going to be. In fact, there was a very popular relationship and dating coach who was advising women to do that. Ask the men on a date, and if they're a gentleman, they'll pay for it. And so one of her clients is bragging, I've been on 20 more dates than I had been on last year. It's like, yeah, because you asking. You're the one asking out on the dates and then looking at the man strange if he's not willing to pay. But certainly,
I just can't never stand to look like I'm a beggar or something.
It's not good energy from either gender.
That's
right. I want to feel like I want to be on a date, not a GoFundMe campaign.
Exactly.
So, God bless. But certainly, a man, if you're taking a woman out on a date, you should be prepared to pay for everything. And that includes valet, that includes a tip, that includes anything and everything involved with that date. Number 20, let her know you had a great time when wrapping up the date. Yeah, absolutely. If you had a great time, let it be known. Right. Want to let her know you enjoyed it and put it out there that you'd like to see her again. So I completely agree with number 20. And then last is number 21. If she lets you drop her off, walk her to the door and text her once you get back to your car to make sure she's safe. I definitely believe in making sure that people are safe. I definitely believe in walking a woman to her car and or walking a woman to her door. And then communicating with her afterwards to make sure that even once she got inside the house, that was safe
Ladies,
as well.
On a first date, do not let that man know where you live. Do not get in his car. There are too many things that can happen. You don't know him yet. It's the first day. I don't care if you had 2 or 3 conversations prior. People lie. Like he just said, people can pretend for up to a year if they could. Remember, there's hitmen and snipers and stuff out here, whatever he said earlier. And do not let no dude know where you live on the first date. Wait till you know that you actually like him, because you don't know how crazy he is. You don't know how crazy he is. So be safe out there.
So I'm not going to address that advice. Being safe is good advice. But I will say that women have let me know where they live. They have gotten in cars with me. Women have flown into town, never having met me.
I mean, every man is not crazy, but taking that chance, it only takes you to be with the one that's crazy, and that's 100% of a bad experience for
But
you.
I do believe
So
in,
avoid
in
that.
making women feel safe. So women who have in the past come and visit me from out of town, I sent them a picture of my license before they got there. I wanted them to know who they were going out with, and for them to share with somebody if they needed to feel safe. I've seen women take a snapshot of my license plate before they got into the car, and so definitely be safe. Definitely, don't do anything that's outside of your comfort zone. But sometimes the interaction is such, or you guys have some mutual friends in common to where a woman with a particular guy will feel comfortable enough to let him pick her up from the house and things of that nature. But I never taken any offense if a woman takes extra steps to make sure she's safe, because it's a crazy world we live in right now, and I'm perfectly happy to cooperate with that. In fact, I saw that a woman was like, is it inappropriate to ask a man for a picture of his license if you don't know him, and things of that nature. And there were a lot of guys who were saying they would get offended and they wouldn't want the woman to really know where they live. But I have volunteered my license without even being asked. But again, I don't usually go out with women that I don't know. Those were situations where the women were coming in from out of town.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was good. I enjoyed going through it with you. But again, those are some basic things. Those are very basic. It should be common sense and common knowledge. And the fact that we have to now tell grown men, this is things that fathers need to have taught their sons. And now we're putting information out here to try and raise grown men and teach them how to date, and even put into their thought process that they want to, we don't even have to use the word impress, but make a good impression.
Right.
Don't just show up,
So when I saw the list, I thought the same thing I think right now, right? And so after going through all 21 of those things, my question is does doing these things result in a better connection or more connection with the person you went out on the first date with? Does doing the things on this list result in you really getting to know the person better that you went out on a date with? And so there are so many things that feed the ego that the people enjoy and that people like, and maybe even make it a part of their standards and preferences, that does not equate to good communication, does not equate to more powerful connection, and does not equate to really getting to know the person better, which is ultimately going to dictate what type of dating relationship, or if there is any relationship at all moving forward. So I think, even though he did give the context, I will say that, I said that at the beginning, I will say that again, that this list was about what's really important to impress the woman on a date. I don't know that it is serving the purpose of the date, that you've done a lot of things that tell some things about you, but I don't know if it's really allowing the person to get to know you, and I don't know if you've really done too much to really get to know that other person, which I think is the most important part of dating. I think that if a person is all about the performance and doing things to impress the person, then it's very unlikely that they will impress that person with who they are. And I like to give space for women to like me for who I am, not just the things that I do. I think the things that I do are important and they are a part of me, but I think they are more the icing on the cake than they are the actual cake. And that's just my 2 cents on that.
All right. Well, thank you. And y'all too.
Absolutely.
That was a great topic.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the
I want to
mimosas.
I want to add this one little thing before we take a brief break and come back with Khalid. That first date, those things, it does aid in you getting to know the other person, because it allows you to get a second date. And without that second date, then you're definitely not. But for a woman, some of those things let us know that you're either raised right or a great pretender, one of the two. The consistency is where the rest of that comes in. You hear women talk about he's so inconsistent. So, he's calling and checking on you, and then all of a sudden the next week you don't hear from him at all. And then you hear from him every other day, all of that kind of stuff. So those things help you get to that second date, to get to know that person more, because they present themselves as someone you want to get to know. If you just show up, just, willy-nilly, we don't even want to get to know you.
I know this is going to be very difficult for the audience or even Xavier, anybody listening to believe, but certainly I had a toxic period in my life where my goal was not to get to know a woman. My goal was to have fun with a woman. And I knew all the right things to say and all the right things to do. And it would result in me sleeping with those women, but not them really getting to know me and not me really getting to know them. And even I got tired of that nonsense. And so again, especially in today's society where there's all this psychological warfare on social media, where there's all these things, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. Very oftentimes you will find yourself in a situation where you're liking a person much more than you would be if you really knew who they were. And so I am all for taking some gentlemanly actions and doing some impressive things on dates, but also you need to be able to impress that person with who you are deep down inside and not just the things that you would do to impress a woman on a date. And so I hope that a woman is impressed by my conversation on that date more than anything else, even though, as I shared earlier, there are impressive things that I like to do on dates. I hope that what I share about myself, the way I carry myself, the way that I choose my words, the type of questions that I ask that woman is what makes her want to go out on that second date as opposed to the restaurant I chose.
It talks about conversation. That was in the 21.
It did, but it's very generalized, and it's 1 out of 21. So I'm just saying that maybe I'll make a list about how to really get to know a person on the first date as opposed to impress a person on the first date.
We got one more question. So don't let him pick you up on the first date. No. Don't let him know where you live. Don't let him pick you up. Let me tell you something. Just real quick, we're going to wrap up. Thank you. God bless. I just want to wrap up with a quick story. So I've had a few stalkers in my life. And so the first one actually kidnapped me. And what happened was I got in his car. And once the doors was locked, he got on the expressway and got in the fast lane. That was a wrap. There was no way for me to get out the car because you're on the highway in the fast lane. What are you going to do? Jump out the car? You're not really, because you're not going to survive that. You're in the fast lane, which is far left. You're on the passenger side. You're going to jump out right into traffic. You're not going to do that. So don't get in cars with people that you don't know with locked doors. You don't know what's going to happen. Wait till you know and trust that person. I've had people get offended because I wouldn't let them pick me up, and I really don't care. That's their problem.
Now I even understand that better. But even before she shared that story, I was saying, do whatever you need to do to feel safe. I agree with that 1,000%. But I also know that I could probably go on Google and find out where you live right now for free. And if not, if I'm willing to pay $10, I can definitely find out not only where you live now, the last 5 places that you live. And so, it's all relative.
And I know that you're crazy. I'm going to put the cameras out. AI got that thing now where they have the face recognition. I just heard about it on the radio yesterday. Right. So if your face is recognized, it says you are unauthorized intruder. And they shoot you with paint gun stuff now. Yeah, they got that going on. So anyway, we're going to take a short break, and we are going to come back with relationship reflections with the marriage counselor. We'll be back in 2